Hi, this is Rowan Drake, and I am here to present my final presentation for my business internship. So I'm going to go ahead and start with the questions. What kind of orientation did you have, and was it useful? The first day working for Allegis Group consisted of an intern orientation in the morning. The HR directors focused on the history of Allegis Group and gave some background knowledge of the founder, Steve Bisciotti. The orientation lasted about 2.5 hours, where they also addressed professional attire, expectations, and intern events that would happen throughout the summer. I thought that this orientation was very useful because I gained a better knowledge of what Allegis Group really does. So Allegis Group is a staffing company. It's worldwide. It's based in the U.S., but they also have it in Europe. So Allegis Group is the mother company, and then underneath there are different operating companies or sister companies. So those companies include TEKsystems, Aerotech, Getting Hired, Allegis Global Solutions, and MarketSource. I worked for the corporate office called ACS, or Allegis Corporate Services, in the Web and Creative Design department, which worked on giving services to these companies. What was one of your key learning objectives, and what was your most interesting project? So one of my key learning objectives that I tried to focus on throughout the summer was to gain an understanding of digital marketing services through web and creative shadow sessions, client meetings, and analysis of marketing analytics. And one of the most interesting projects that I was assigned this summer was to handle these social channels for each operating company. So MarketSource, TEKsystems, Aerotech, all of those different operating companies have their own social channels like Facebook, Twitter, Google+, LinkedIn. So I was in charge of handling those and creating posts and analyzing the different metrics and the insights. So that was probably my most interesting project. What experience took you outside of your comfort zone? Well, as I had mentioned earlier, I worked very closely with the social media aspect of this department. So when I had to handle these different metrics and insights inside the social channel, I had to create a monthly report for each operating company and then discuss the monthly report with their company in a team meeting. So what took me out of my comfort zone was when these metrics and insights didn't go up to par with what the operating company wanted. They had higher expectations, and the metrics either didn't meet these expectations, or they just weren't impressed, or they expected more. So it was sometimes an uncomfortable conversation to have, because I had to say, like, oh, well, it only reached a certain amount of impressions. You only got a certain amount of likes on this post for this month. Only a certain amount of clicks. And, when they didn't get as much traffic, I had to kind of advise them how to better their social channels for the next month. And although I, learned a lot of knowledge in this area, it was sometimes uncomfortable to have to give advice to teams like these that have a ton of experience in this field, and I'm, only an intern for the summer. What did you learn about yourself? What have you learned about the industry? I was lucky enough to shadow different companies throughout my internship. For a couple of days, I spent time with Aerotech marketing team. I learned that I liked this side of the business a lot more than I liked the corporate role. So with the corporate team, as I explained earlier, we were in charge of the operating companies. So Aerotech or Tech would come to us and they would say, hey, we need you to help us revamp this page, or this page, isn't loading. Can your development team look at the HTML code? And then we would take this ticket, we would create an RFI, and then we would say, hey, look, we're going to fix this, and then we're going to help Tech, and we're going to help Aerotech. But what I liked when I shadowed Aerotech was actually working with the clients and actually working with the contractors and being able to be like, hey, we just received your resume, we just received your experience. Here's a company that we think would pair nicely with you. So that was more Aerotech's role. They work closer with the client and the contractors, and the corporate only really works with the operating companies that then work with the contractors and the clients. So what academic courses best prepared you for your internship? 100% CIS Information Systems with Maureen Allen. That being able to understand Excel and the background knowledge that it takes and the filters and the formulas and all of those little aspects of Excel was made the difference in my internship because I had that experience. You know, they didn't have to sit down with me and be like, this is how you create a spreadsheet, this is how you create a formula. And especially with reporting the social media insights, it was important to know that because you needed to create formulas in Excel to be able to get the percentages and the decimal points. So just having a base knowledge of this was really helpful. I mean, of course, there were a couple of things that the web and creative team had to teach me. Overall, it was very beneficial to have it already taken this class. And finally, what do you wish you had done differently before the start of your internship? Because Allegis Group is such a huge company with many different departments and operating companies, I wish I had looked into more departments. Although my experience in web and creative was amazing and I learned a ton of information just from sitting in meetings and watching coworkers interact and, just understand the projects that they were working on, I wish that I had looked in more departments just because I don't want to focus mainly on web and creative. And I do want to pursue a career in marketing. I just didn't want to work as closely with social media. And I thought that a more general marketing role, as in working with a brand and working with, creating events and campaigns, I would be more interested in versus just web design and social media I wasn't as interested in. But overall, I had a great summer. I loved working for Allegis Corporate. I loved working closely with Aerotech. And I look forward to hopefully seeing these guys later on in life and hopefully making connections from here on out.